program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity.
Green Bay.
Here we go, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's done by Barflies, for Barflies, and all the other Bears fans out there. I'm going to try and go alone this time. It's AC, you boy. Usually I am with Tooch and Neil and KB, but everybody had something going on this morning. But it is free agency, so I felt the obligation to give a show to Bears fans to cover some free agent moves that we made. Now, the free agency frenzy wasn't as frenzied this year as it usually is. The Bears made a couple of moves, nothing too major, but I just felt like we had to do something. I think if you guys are in the chat, if there's some free agent moves that you wanted to look for, you can throw that in or something. We could talk Bears, or we could talk the rest of the NFL. I mean, it's the big news right here. I got Max Crosby traded to the Ravens and then traded back to the Raiders, and that whole fiasco. And then all of a sudden, the Ravens signed Trey Hendrickson instead of Max Crosby, and then they try to say that they were looking to bring both of them in. It's just a mess out there. Who knows one way or the other what the thoughts are. But Max Crosby, 29 years old, coming off of a knee injury that had surgery, and everyone knew that he would have trouble passing a physical because of that surgery. But the Ravens failed him on the physical and send him back to the Raiders. So we'll see. The Raiders spent a lot of money in free agency. They're trying to turn that franchise around. They hired Clint Kubiak, former offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. So, I mean, we'll see what they do. They had enough money to take back Max Crosby's contract and keep moving forward. Max says he's going to be a Raider, and everything seems to be fine and dandy right now. But we'll see what happens. Maybe next year it happens all over again. We'll never know what might happen with the Max Crosby saga, Ravens situation, and the Raiders situation. I have no idea. But in Bears news, Drew Dahlman calls it a career. Retired from the Chicago Bears, our starting center from last year. I hate that he, I'm glad that he was able to walk away on his own power, but I hate that he left a hole there in our offensive line. But we did. He saved us $10 million against the cap there, and we did trade for Garrett Bradbury of the New England Patriots, former Minnesota Viking as well. He comes in, and I don't know how much of a downfall it is from Drew Dahlman to Garrett Bradbury. His PFF, if you follow PFF, his PFF scores last year weren't the best, but they weren't the worst either. Maybe he'll come in and we won't miss a beat. He is a former teammate of Joe Tooney, our left guard, so they have played next to each other in the past, and they'll get him up to speed. I heard him on the Waddle and Sylvie show say that his father-in-law was a huge Bears fan. So his father-in-law had to put away his Bears gear, especially when he was a Minnesota Viking. But now that he's a Bear, I'm sure his father-in-law is absolutely psyched to be cheering for his son-in-law on Sundays at starting for the Chicago Bears. I really hope it turns out, but I still think either it depends on what they think of Luke Newman. We may still end up drafting a center. And myself and Danny did a little show last Monday going over free agency and talking about some of the centers in the draft. So you can go back to the Barroom Radio Network through our archives and check out that draft on tap from last Sunday. Just some names to look out for. Logan Jones from Iowa was a big one that kind of fits our scheme pretty well. And there's some other centers in the draft that we might be able to bring in to give us some depth, unless they think Luke Newman's the guy. Big move for the Chicago Bears when news broke of this one. We kind of saw it coming with the amount of money that he was being paid and his role diminishing for the Chicago Bears offense. You know, we expect Rome Odunze to continue to ascend, as well as Luther Burden and Colson Leveland, who we draft last year, and also Cole Kmet. You know, he made that touchdown grab at the end of the at the end of the Rams game. That so that's still a place that Caleb looks. Now it does hurt because DJ Moore beat the Packers twice this year. He caught some game winners from Caleb. But we send DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick to the Buffalo Bills, and we get a 2nd-round pick in return. So now the Chicago Bears have 4 picks in the top 89 picks of the draft as of right now. We may trade down and pick up more draft capital. We may stay put. I'm not sure. But getting a 2nd-round pick was really it was really good return because if you look in the past, Amari Cooper had similar numbers to DJ Moore when he got traded. I believe it was from Dallas to Cleveland, and he went for like a 5th-round pick. They took on his contract as well. And DJ Moore, we get a 2nd-round pick, and they take on his contract. Gets that move plus the Tremaine Edmonds getting released saved the Chicago Bears $15 million against the cap. Got us cap compliant prior to free agency. We did bring back DeMarco Jackson on a 1-year, $3.75 million contract, and Devin Bush signed a 3-year, $30 million contract, $10 million a year. So we get two starters for less than what we were paying Edmonds. And honestly, Devin Bush, I mean, I remember him coming out of Michigan, absolute speed demon, just plays all over the field, a tackling machine. So I really love that we were able to bring him in and try and replace. Now, the leadership that Tremaine Edmonds had is going to be difficult to replace, but we brought in DeMarco Jackson back. He played quite a bit last year while Tremaine Edmonds was injured. So it's possible that we could just maybe not miss a beat and save some money in the process. We did lose some guys in free agency as well, especially in our secondary. Our entire secondary leaves a free agent. Kevin Byard was the big one. You know, he led the NFL in interceptions last year, played an all-pro season. He gets a 1-year, $9 million deal from the New England Patriots. And according to Josina Anderson, it came down to the Bears and the Patriots, and he chose to stick with to go back to Mike Vrabel and play for him. Antmus, I see you in the chat. I'm trying to do a quick little show, just a free agency recap. The other guys all had some stuff going on, so it's just your boy AC today. So I'm trying to shout out to Toots for putting all these graphics in here. I figured we put a little show together and talk about some of the ads, some of the subtractions, etc. But yeah, we saw Byard leave. We saw Brisker gets a 1-year, $5 million deal from the Pittsburgh Steelers. CJ Gardner Johnson got a 1-year, I believe, $6 million deal from the Bills, Buffalo Bills. And Jonathan Owens signs a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts. So we lose 4 pieces of our secondary, but let's be honest, guys. This is a defense that last year, if we weren't getting turnovers, we really struggled. Are we better or wait till after? I'm going to wait until after the draft to figure everything out, Antmus. It's hard to know whether we're better or worse right now because on paper, I love this next signing, Kobe Bryant. He gets a 3-year, $40 million deal. That was really our biggest move in free agency. 4-year veteran, 26 years old, just won a Super Bowl, 6'1", 193 with a ton of speed and playmaking ability. The guy takes the ball away in bunches, and that's something that obviously we need. Al Harris, he gets up here in what was it? CJ Gardner Johnson called it the Al Harris University. So if he gets up here and Al Harris gets to mold him into his safety of the future, that's fantastic. The safety draft class is really good too. I thought when this first happened that they may bring back Byard and put Kobe Bryant and Byard together back there, but they chose to let Byard walk in free agency. And we'll see what they do in the draft. Free agency's not over. There's still guys that are out there that they may sign. Now the Bears are kind of up against it as far as the cap goes. They'd have to restructure some guys. Maybe Cole Kmet's one of those restructures that they do. Maybe a lot of people were saying Sweat and maybe Joe Tooney and guys like that to restructure, but at their age and whatever their plans are for those guys moving forward, I don't know if they'd want to put void years on the end or what they'd want to do. We signed Devin Bush, like I said earlier, 3 years, $30 million. Last year, he had 125 tackles, 3 picks, 2 touchdowns, 2 forced fumbles, 7 tackles for loss, and 8 pass breakups. 7-year veteran, 27 years old, 5'11", 235. Crazy speed and playmaking ability. I remember this guy coming out of Michigan. It was him and Devin White both going, I believe, in the top 10. He didn't exactly live up to his billing right away, and I believe it was Pittsburgh that drafted him. But last year with Cleveland, he really came into his own. Maybe some of that has to do with working with Myles Garrett. I'm not sure, but he is fast. I think he ran a 4.4 coming out of college. So I'm loving bringing him in. Ralph Love says, I don't think we'll win the division this year. I think the Bears will compete in the division and might get the wild card spot. That's an interesting way to look at it, Ralph. We lost some guys, but the rest of the division lost some guys too. If you look at, Green Bay kind of let everybody leave. They didn't I'm trying to remember who they signed. I guess getting back guys from injuries, their biggest signings, like a Micah Parsons and a Tucker Kraft, etc. But the Lions, if you look at their moves that they made, they lose a lot on their offensive line, and they brought in friendly face to us, Larry Borum, to play left tackle, I'm assuming. And their center is Cade Mays, the former Carolina Panther. So if that offensive line can't hold up, we know how important that is to have an offensive line that's clicking and they'd all have to gel. Maybe they draft a guy. Maybe they draft a left tackle in the first round this year. But even with that, you're dealing with a rookie left tackle who's going to have some growing pains in this great NFC North. It's possible that we don't win the division. We may even be better and still not win the division. The schedule gets tough for this year. We're playing a first-place schedule, so we'll be dealing with that. We play the best teams. We play in the best division. So that's in my opinion. I guess the NFC West may have something to say about that. But Green Bay, you say they're the team to beat. Get their guys back from injury is going to be a big thing. We kind of got lucky that we didn't have to play against Micah Parsons. in that final game. I mean, he's a game wrecker on the defensive end spot. And then of course, Tucker Kraft had a great start to the season. The Bears signed a familiar face and Khalif Raymond from the Detroit Lions. We talked about him on Draft on Tap. He gets a 1-year deal. Speed and return ability. We needed speed. We all knew it last year. When you watch, speaking of the Green Bay Packers, when you watch the Green Bay Packers running wide open on all their crossing routes, etc., you knew you had to get the team speed up, which is why they signed guys like Kobe Bryant, Devin Bush. Khalif Raymond gives you return ability. So maybe this marks the end for Devin Duvernay as a Chicago Bear. This is a big face that played with Ben Johnson in Detroit. They bring him over, and he'll continue to play for Ben Johnson here. Neville Gallimore got signed from the Indianapolis Colts. This feels like a depth piece to me. 6'2", 307 pounds. He had a 2-year, $12 million deal. I'm not sure how much of that is guaranteed. I believe it's front loaded. So I think next year his dead cap is like $1.5 million. So it's basically a 1-year contract for this guy. If he doesn't work out, we'll cut him loose. But the draft class on defensive line is very good this year. If Caleb Banks, he broke his foot at the combine. So if you're worried about injury, maybe he falls much lower than we expected if everyone's worried about injury. But this kind of marks the end, I believe, for Andrew Billings, which kind of friend of the program. That's KB's cousin. We love Big Cuz over here. So it would suck to see him wearing a different uniform, but we had to get younger. I guess he's not a whole lot younger. Andrew Billings wasn't crazy old, but they felt the need to bring in Neville Gallimore for some depth along the defensive line, and I don't know, that's what they did. DeMarco Jackson re-signed 2 years, $7.5 million deal. I love this signing because he played so much last year. When Edmonds was out on IR, and I believe Edwards was out at the same time. He played against the Browns. I remember he had the big pick against the Browns. Was, I believe, wearing the green dot for that game. So he's a guy that knows the defense, speed, and playmaking ability, as we've seen with all these signings. And he's familiarity with the defense. He doesn't have to learn everything and everything. So he'll be good to go this year. Maybe he'll play some starting role. Maybe we draft a guy. I'm not sure. I feel like it pushes the draft need further down the board, though, when you bring back DeMarco Jackson and you sign Devin Bush as well. Thanks, Buka. So you bring those linebackers back, and we'll see how everything goes. They re-signed Braxton Jones on a 1-year, $5 million deal. I believe it can go up to $10 million, so it's kind of a prove it deal for Braxton Jones. This was a move done. I definitely think because of the Trapillo injury, and they're not sure whether he'll be able to make it back this year or not. I mean, Ryan Poles told you that it could be a long road back for him. So they bring back Braxton Jones, who knows the offense, knows what he's doing, isn't great against the bull rush still, 6'5", 303 pounds. So we'll see what happens. They also signed Jedrick Wills. This is a guy who, as a Kentucky guy, I know him very well. He played here in Lexington and followed the Damian Harris pipeline down to Alabama to play for them. He gets drafted by the Browns in the first round, high-end draft pick, and dealt with a ton of injuries playing for their blind side. He gets a 1-year, $5 million deal estimated. He's got 58 career games and did not play last year due to the injuries. He just wanted to take a year off to completely heal himself. A 5-year veteran, 26 years old, 6'4", 307 pounds. And he might be able to push for the starting job, at least for this year. This is a guy who has a lot to prove, a lot to improve on. And, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, he went to Alabama. There's not no talent there. He's got some talent. If Dan Rochar can get the best out of him and get him a contract going forward, whether it's with us or with somebody else, this could be a sneaky, really good signing especially for the money that we're giving him. We signed Cam Lewis from Buffalo, 2-year, $6 million deal. He's a veteran. He's a special teams guy, I think. I don't know how much we'll see him. Well, I guess last year we had all the injuries. We saw a bunch of guys we didn't expect to see. But yeah, I don't know much about him. He's a DB, Kentavious Street, the defensive tackle from the Atlanta Falcons, signs a vet minimum deal. Again, this is just depth. I still strongly believe that the defensive line will be attacked during the draft on the edge and on the inside. We'll see who comes up and who they are able to draft and bring in for more competition. And remember, we got Shamar Turner coming back as well. They drafted him high in the second round. Well, not high, but they drafted him in the second round last year. They expect a lot out of him. He tore his ACL last year, I believe, in week 5. So he should be good to go at the start of training camp, and hopefully we'll be seeing updates from him this offseason. We signed back Elijah Hicks, which, in my opinion, my honest opinion, I felt like we re-signed the wrong safety for depth. I would have rather had Jonathan Owens coming back for not only what he does on the field, but he's his wife being an Olympic athlete. Let's be honest, he gives the Bears a lot of eyes from outside of the fan base. Simone Biles is a superstar, but Jonathan Owens, another one of those guys that left on a 1-year deal. I believe he signed with Indianapolis. So it's not like none of our guys really left and signed huge deals. Nashawn Wright was a big one. He had 5 interceptions last year. He signs a $5.5 million deal with the New York Jets to go play out there. That was one I was surprised by because I thought he would get a big deal with those interceptions. But a lot of the tape shows you he was getting picks, absolutely, but he was also getting burned, much like Trayvon Diggs, the former Dallas Cowboy. He got a lot of picks that 1 year and cashed in, and it didn't work out for that team. So maybe a lot of general managers are looking at that with a skeptical eye and don't want to give a huge contract. We bring back Daniel Hardy, the defensive end, 2-year, $5 million deal. Huge special teams guy. I'm very, very sure this was a Richard Hightower saying, bring this guy back for me, please, because he does an awful lot for him on that special teams unit. We signed Jalen Jones. This came down, I believe, yesterday. 2-year, $6 million deal. I thought it was a 1-year deal, but yeah, he's a free agent. He knows the system. Like I said, last year with injuries, we had to play a lot of guys that we didn't expect to play, and Jalen Jones was one of those guys. Terrell Smith is a guy coming back from injury who we'll see what we can get out of him this year. He was supposed to start last year, but he got injured, I believe. It was either early in the season or in the preseason he got injured. So he'll be coming back as well. Play some corner, get some depth back. We signed Case Keenum again, 2-year, $5.5 million deal. They love having him in the room with Caleb Williams and I guess Tyson Bagent. We did hear some calls, some trade offers, I believe, for Tyson Bagent. Maybe this is something that happens on draft night and the Bears end up with some more draft picks and Case Keenum is your primary backup. But they seem to love him in the room. I like having him around too. He teaches Caleb a lot about being a young quarterback and learning systems and all the things that go into being an NFL quarterback. If you guys are in the chat, if there's any free agents that you got your eyes on, let me know. I've been running a plethora of mock drafts, and we talk about Draft on Tap with Danny Shimon on Mondays. We covered the center this last week. We're going to continue to cover offensive line this next Monday, starting tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last 2 weeks ago, we went over the defensive tackle position, and the week before that, we went over the defensive end position. So we're going through the draft. I believe that's a large part of what the Bears plan on doing this year. I think they're going to build through the draft. They're going to get younger, they're going to get faster, and they're going to get cheaper on defense. This is a defense who, like I said earlier, if they weren't turning the ball over, they were struggling. They were 29th ranked. They struggled against the run. They struggled against the pass. Dennis Allen was holding those guys together with duct tape and bubble gum, and Al Harris, and the job that those defensive coaches got done last year was admirable, to say the least. But I really got tired of seeing crossing routes running wide open, which is why we see a lot of our secondary pieces leaving in free agency for not a lot of money and for not a lot of years. They all signed one-year deals with their prospective teams. Like I said earlier, Nashawn Wright gets a 1 year, $5.5 million deal for the New York Jets. CJ Gardner-Johnson signed a 1 year, $6 million deal, I believe, to go to Buffalo and play for the Bills with Josh Allen. So you can, the way CJ plays, you can almost pencil them in for winning their division. He's kind of the Joe Tooney on defense. Kevin Byard gets a 1 year, $9 million deal to go to the New England Patriots. And he wanted to go back to Mike Vrabel. So he played for in Tennessee. I have to believe that we offered him something, and I don't know if we offered him the same amount and he chose them over us or what the thing was, but Josina Anderson was reporting that it was between New England and Chicago, and Mike Vrabel put New England over the top for Kevin Byard to go back and play for him. Trying to think of who else we lost in free agency. But again, the rest of the division lost a lot in free agency as well. The Green Bay Packers trade away Rashawn Gary to the Dallas Cowboys. So it's Micah Parsons and whom on their defensive ends. They traded a defensive tackle to Indianapolis for Zaire Franklin, the linebacker out of Indianapolis, to come in and play for them. They let Zay Walker leave. He goes to Las Vegas, signs a big deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, who were making a ton of moves in free agency to try to improve that team completely. Trying to think who else. Again, we talked about Detroit's offensive line. Their center leaves, Graham Glasgow, and their left tackle, Taylor Decker, who a lot of people penciled in for the Bears, but the Bears didn't. I don't know if they offered him something and he didn't like the money or what the thing was, but he is not a Chicago Bear at this time, and we've signed, again, Braxton Jones and Jedrick Wills for that left tackle position, so we may or may not see Taylor Decker there, but the Lions have signed Cade Mays at center and Larry Borum at left tackle. I'm assuming they'll draft someone, or maybe they end up bringing Taylor Decker back later in free agency. The big news that came down the other day, Kyler Murray, former first-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals, former number 1 overall pick of the Arizona Cardinals, Heisman winner, drafted in the top 10 of the MLB draft as well. This is a guy who is an athlete. He was very good in college, playing in that same system that Caleb plays in, or played in college under Lincoln Riley, does a lot for his quarterbacks, makes them look really good and gets them drafted. If you follow his track record, he's got a bunch of guys in the league. He was like John Calipari with point guards. That was Lincoln Riley with quarterbacks. So Kyler Murray comes over, plays in Minnesota under Kevin O'Connell, which is, a lot of people have been calling him the quarterback whisperer. Sam Darnold seems like the one that got away. They let him leave, and he goes and wins a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. Daniel Jones leaves and goes to Indianapolis, signed a 2-year, $100 million deal this offseason after they let him go. Kirk Cousins left and went to Atlanta, signed a big deal down there. So maybe Kyler Gordon's looking at his track record and saying, wow, I can go here and play for a year and then get a big contract this next offseason somewhere. Or maybe he sticks around. I don't know. I have to look at their offensive line. I know they got Darisaw coming back. I'm trying to think of who else is on that Minnesota Vikings offensive line. The biggest thing for me with Minnesota is the defense. And they were talking about trading away Grenard, which would be awesome for us if Grenard gets traded out of the division. I'm not sure what their cap situation is in Minnesota. I'd have to do some more research on that to figure out if they are able to bring in some more guys or not. If you guys are in the chat, if there's free agents that you think would fit the Chicago Bears or guys that you think we should go out and get, again, we are up against it in the cap. I think Adam Schefter caught a lot of heat this week for saying the Bears are broke when they were asking him about Max Crosby coming to Chicago. Technically, yeah, we're like I think $1.5 million from the salary cap, but there's always restructures possible, whether that's a Montez Sweat if they want to push his money down the road, or a Joe Thuney. He makes a lot of money. I believe Jalen Johnson makes a lot. Maybe they can do something there, or maybe maybe a lot of these guys, they're looking for an out and they don't have it this year, but maybe they have it further down the road. And if you restructure, it only pushes that can even further down the road. And you really want Grady Jarrett, who is 33 years old, makes more money this year than he made last year. If you restructure that, you could be paying him far into, once he's way past his prime. Yeah, no money here, no money here. Yeah, you're right. So Josh Sweat is a free agent. Bears need to get. I'd have to look at his measurables. I know he asked for a trade from the Arizona Cardinals. The former Philadelphia Eagle won a Super Bowl there and then joined his former defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, in Arizona, who is now in Green Bay. If we get Josh Sweat, I'd be cool with that. He doesn't cost a lot. I think he's $12 million against the cap for a pass rusher of his ilk. That is an absolute steal. But I believe Josh Sweat loves playing for Jonathan Gannon. I think he's trying to force his way to Green Bay to play for him again, because he forced, when he hit free agency, he was the big name ticket. He was the big edge rusher that everybody wanted, coming off a Super Bowl win with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he chose to go to Arizona to play for Jonathan Gannon because that's who he played for in Philadelphia. If you remember that Philadelphia team, they've lost a lot. They paid Saquon, and due to paying Saquon Barkley, they lost Milton Williams, Josh Sweat. This offseason, they lost Reed Blankenship, who signed with the Houston Texans. But they did sign Tariq Woolen, who is one of the best corners. The Philadelphia Eagles making a lot of moves. Of course, Howie is always known as one of the best GMs in the NFL across the league. But Josh Sweat, I definitely wouldn't. I'm never against more pass rush. Dio Dangbo put out a tweet that he was motivated, and a lot of people are having some fun with that. I guess that's what we're putting our eggs in the basket. We're not seeing a lot of moves out of the Chicago Bears, and part of that is last year we made moves. Last year we paid Grady Jarrett. Last year we paid Dio Dangbo. It hasn't worked out to this point, but again, those are the moves that our general manager Ryan Poles happened to make. He was able to overturn the offensive line in one offseason and trading for Joe Thuney and trading for Jonah Jackson and bringing in Drew Dahlman, who is now retired, and now trading for Garrett Bradbury, hitting, in my opinion, maybe this is I don't believe it's controversial, but hitting on Darnell Wright, a guy who is in line for a huge extension. I believe next year is when his contract is up. And then at left tackle, if Trapillo works out, then you've hit on that in the second round. We did draft Shamar Turner, the defensive lineman out of Texas A&M last year. He could play edge and he could play defensive tackle. So if he comes back and lives up to his billing that they were looking for in the draft, maybe we're overlooking him. I'm not sure. I do love this draft class, defensive end and defensive tackle wise. We're seeing a lot of Caden McDonald's in mock drafts, the nose tackle out of Ohio State. Seeing some Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, who has some good moves. Didn't have a great year last year, but nobody at Clemson really had a great year last year. TJ Parker, the edge rusher. I've found myself liking him a lot and drafting him a lot in mock drafts. I love Zion Young, but I don't think he'll be there for us at 25 out of Missouri. Danny Shimon loves Chris McClellan in like the second or third round, the defensive tackle out of Missouri as well. King Buka said, I'm glad they didn't give up 2 firsts for Crosby. I said that in the beginning. It was a no for me. Only player worth 2 firsts is Miles. I absolutely agree with you on this, Buka. If they had done that move, what am I going to do? I mean, I would have to grin and bear it. But I definitely was not for the Chicago Bears trading 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. As good as he is 29 years old. He is coming off another knee surgery, starting to get up there in age. And as good as he is, who knows how long you're going to have him for? You know, if you trade 2 first-round picks and then the guy is can't play for more than 2 years for you, then you've really put yourself in the hole, especially with that huge contract that I think he makes $30 million this year. He's due $60 million over the next 2 years or something like that. Not a fan of Zion Young at all. He has no bend. I have to look at that True Pilgrim. What I saw on the tape, Danny was breaking it down. He seems like a high motor guy. Now, maybe I will look at the bend a little more and see what he can do, but he does fit the size profile that Dennis Allen looks for as well. But I think I like TJ Parker a little more than him anyway, the Clemson defensive end. Didn't have a great year this year. Had a pretty good year, but again, Clemson overall had a tough year this year, and I'm not really sure why. They brought back Dabo Swinney. They were expected to contend for a national championship at Clemson, and everything just fell apart. They didn't play. It's a build through the draft. Absolutely, TJ. It's absolutely built through the draft. That's what the great teams do. Like I was just talking about with the Philadelphia Eagles when they won their Super Bowl. Jalen Carter they drafted. Jonathan Davis, who they just paid, they drafted. The linebackers, Nakobe Dean, they drafted. You know, they basically went into every draft saying, who's the Georgia guy we're going to draft this year? And they built their defense that way. And that also allows you to, much like the Kansas City Chiefs have tried to do as well, when you're paying your quarterback, which we're going to see in 2-3 years, is that when Caleb's contract is up? You have to hit on draft picks, especially defensively, because if you're paying your quarterback that much, yeah, you can borrow from it, as like Kansas City does, like Baltimore does. You can borrow from your quarterback, but you got to have cheap pieces on the other side of the ball. You got to hit on pass rushers. You got to hit on linebackers, hit on secondary pieces. Again, we're talking about Kansas City. They just traded away Trent McDuffie. This is 3 corners over their last few years where they draft them, they develop them, and then they trade them away for draft picks, and then they can continue to build through the draft. They traded him to the Rams for a first-round pick, a fifth-round pick, I believe a sixth-round pick, and a third-round pick next year. So they make 4 draft picks off 1 corner, and that gives them 2 draft picks in the first round. So they can draft another corner and maybe do the same thing all over again. I would love for the Chicago Bears to become a powerhouse like that, where you draft and develop and trade away guys to build through the draft. Kansas City did it with Tyreek Hill in their last rebuild. You know, they drafted him, they built him up, he played really well, and they said, we're not going to pay him. Let's trade him away to the Dolphins. They got a ton of draft picks back, and they were able to continue to build through the draft. It's definitely the smart way of building an NFL roster, in my honest opinion. But what are your guys' thoughts? You know, who are you guys looking at in the draft? Who are you guys looking at, again, in free agency? Is there guys in the second? I don't know how reputable it is, but I saw a tweet today that said possibly Kyler Gordon to safety. I've always pictured if there's a corner to move to safety, it's been Tyreek Stevenson. But we'll see what what the Chicago Bears decide to do. They like having versatility on the front and the back of their defense. It's something that Dennis Allen really loves. He did it with the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, while he was in New Orleans. He played corner for him, played some safety, kind of was a do-it-all guy. Maybe they picture Kyler Gordon in that ilk. I don't. I think he's a very good slot corner, and can play on the outside. I'm not sure how much I like him at safety. I really like him running with guys off the line of scrimmage as opposed to waiting in the backfield for them. The linebacker position, like I said, I think it hurts to see Edmonds go. I believe TJ Edwards will be ready for training camp when it comes around. He did have or maybe he won't. I believe it was a broken leg that he had in the playoff game. So they signed Devin Bush, former Cleveland Brown, former Pittsburgh Steeler, to a 3-year, $30 million deal fast. We needed speed. We all knew that. Again, when you see Green Bay Packers running wide open, it just made me so irate every time we played them. Edge rusher like Malachi Lawrence, UCF, especially over Caden McDonald. So you picture Malachi Lawrence as a first-round pick. I'd have to look into that. I've seen him more as a second or third round guy. And again, we have 2 draft picks in the second round that we can try and build from. What are your guys' thoughts on? We've seen some safety picks in the first round in mock drafts. We saw Daniel Jeremiah, had them drafting Daniel Thieneman out of or maybe it's Thieneman. I'm not sure. Out of Oregon. The safety used to play for Purdue as well, so right there in our backyard. I'm doing good, Foster. Just going over some Bears news, talking some draft, talking some free agency. Some moves that they made, what they might make. I know the safety out of Toledo is getting big praise as well. And then I'm trying to think all over with the secondary. The big name at safety again is Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, but he's a top 10 draft pick most likely. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's in our striking range. AC Adams says the Cam Lewis signing is very intriguing. In my opinion, he's another Swiss Army piece. I'd have to look more into him. I saw that we signed him from Buffalo. I thought he was more of a special teamer type guy, but maybe he was a special teamer there, and they saw more out of him that maybe they can get more out of him. They think again, we needed speed. I'm assuming Cam Lewis is a fast guy. That they did that with a lot of their moves. Malachi Lawrence numbers were almost identical to David Bailey. Wow, that's impressive because David Bailey, they're talking out of Texas Tech. They talk about him in the top 10. Maybe being, unless you count Arvell Reese as a pass rusher, maybe being the first pass rusher off the board. So I'll definitely have to look more into Malachi Lawrence. Thank you, Cornelius. I'll look into that. But fantastic. I'm loving all this back and forth, having the chat involved. I know the Bears met with some corners at the combine as well. Thank you, Fosters. Hit the like button, please. What's your opinion on Omar Cooper at 25, the wide receiver out of Indiana? We'll have to see what Ben Johnson says. Again, like I've said, I'm focusing on defense, speed, getting better. Maybe Omar Cooper is a guy who can – if he likes it, if he sees them. We saw it last year where Luther Burden kept falling and he fell into their lap, and they pulled the trigger even though we weren't sure they needed a wide receiver. But thank God they did, because Luther Burden is an absolute superstar in the making, in my opinion. I think he is a future wide receiver 1 for our Chicago Bears. The things he can do with the ball in his hands, the yak, the breaking tackles is just exquisite by Luther Burden III, and I absolutely love that guy. But maybe Omar Cooper, if that's a guy. I heard him talking on, what was I listening to? I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about a possible wide receiver in the first round, and they brought up Mekhi Lemon. He is a USC wide receiver. And I don't know if it's because of the jersey or what, but they kind of said he was a lot like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who obviously the Detroit Lions had and Ben Johnson had while he was up there. And used him a lot. So if they see Mekhi Lemon in that light and he's there at 25, maybe that's the route they go. Dylan Prescott's asking, what are your thoughts on Zane Durant? I talked about this on Draft on Tap with Danny. I don't have the graphic that I made. I may be able to find it. Just give me 1 second to look it up. But I did make a graphic that was comparing Zane Durant with Peter Woods, who a lot of people are wanting early in the draft. You know, they're looking for Peter Woods out of Clemson. And if you look at the numbers, honestly, guys, it's not a huge difference. I did hear that the Bears met with Zane Durant at the combine, so it could be something going forward to take a look at. But his numbers are fantastic. He's got an interception. He's got, I believe, 3 pass breakups, tons of tackles for loss. Just trying to find if I have that image somewhere here where I could put up the numbers and show you guys one to the next, but I'm not seeing it in my computer here, and I'm trying to filibuster the best I can. Yeah, but I love Zane Durant. I'm not sure where his draft value is, but if you can grab him in the second or third round, you're cooking with grease. I mean, that's a dude who he has very similar size and height and weight to a Peter Woods, but again, his productivity was better than Peter Woods in college, who a lot of people are saying Peter Woods in the first round. So if you can get that guy even later, and then again, I'm going to have to look at more into Malachi Lawrence, who you guys were telling me in the chat. If Spencer Fano is available at 25, would you take him, offensive tackle out of Utah? Spencer Fano, or is it Fano? I don't know. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I remember seeing him at the combine, ran really well. The arm length was a question mark at the combine. A lot of them were saying possibly guard or center, which he did take some snaps at center while he was at the combine. I don't know about taking him at 25, though, if he's your center of the future. I mean, I don't know what kind of positional value you have on that. You know what I'm saying? As far as taking a center in the first time. I mean, if you see him as a left tackle, absolutely go ahead. But I don't know what a lot of people see him at. You know, again, the arm length was a question mark. And for draft purists, especially here at the Ballroom, Danny Shimon and Greg Gabriel, that is an absolute no-no. if they do not fit the measurements, do not take that guy. Which, yeah, absolutely, Cornelius. That's my thoughts. I'm going defense. I'm looking at D-line. Hell, maybe safety. The way these safeties performed at the combine, etc., they've really pushed themselves up draft boards. Again, Dylan Thieneman put on an absolute clinic at the combine, maybe even pushed himself out of our range at 25. Ran a hell of a 40. Looks like he has smooth hips, takes the ball away, and is not scared to get his nose in there and hit people as well. AC, do you think Poles is holding on to draft cap because for the first time he plans to move up for a game record defensive end? I don't think he wants to move up. The sweet spot in this draft is really right where we're at. 25, you know, like I said, we have 4 picks in the top 90. You have 25, you have 57, you have 60, you have 89. If anything, I would think we would move back from 25 if someone wants to come up for offensive tackle or a pass rusher or who knows, maybe a quarterback. If we see now the top quarterbacks are Fernando Mendoza is going 1. Everyone knows that. It's the worst kept secret in football. The draft starts at number 2, obviously. Ty Simpson out of Alabama. A lot of people are kind of penciling into Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens there. But behind him, it's really whatever floats their boat as far as quarterback. We've seen the Cade Klubnik out of Clemson looked really good coming into the year. A lot of people thought Heisman, etc., and he kind of fell off. Maybe somebody falls in love with him. All of a sudden, people are falling in love with Drew Aller out of Penn State, which has the size, the speed, perfect carbon copy of a quarterback that everyone looks for. But again, Penn State had a terrible year, and he didn't look great. So it depends on what the tape is saying. I think our cornerbacks are better than we realize. We got Terrell Smith, absolutely, coming back from the ACL injury. Just signed Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, who could be corner, could be safety, depending on how they. I would love to see Tyreek Stevenson make the move to safety. I think him and Kobe Bryant would be beautiful back there. Zay Frazier coming back. We drafted him last year out of the 5th round. UTSA speed guy. A lot of people are. I mean, what I've seen is they expect him to kind of fill in the Nashawn Wright role. And again, you get Al Harris, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, defensive back coaches in the entire NFL. Al Harris, I'm shocked, absolutely shocked that we were able to keep him for this season, that he didn't get a defensive coordinator position somewhere around the NFL. I thought Dallas was going to come calling after they got rid of Eberflus, but they went with the defensive back coach from Philadelphia. So we're able to keep Al Harris. I love him, the way he coaches, the way he motivates his players. I mean, every week I would hear, I believe it was Jarrett Payton went on the radio and said, or maybe it was Jason McKee, went on the radio and said that every week he would look at him and they said, well, how many are we getting today? And he'd say 4, 5. He'd tell them how many. And a lot of times we would hit that number. You know, again, the Chicago Bears defense, yards wise, getting stops, etc., was not good. I mean, we remember the San Francisco game where they just went down the field on us time and time again. If we weren't getting turnovers, the defense was not good. We were slow. We missed tackles. We were undisciplined. That's why they spent money this offseason to bring in a Devin Bush, to bring in a Kobe Bryant, which, I mean, it's neither here nor there. I'm a Jersey guy, but I would love to see Kobe Bryant. He wore 8 in Seattle. Come on over to Chicago, throw on the 2-4. That'd be a cool little storyline too. You know, Kobe Bryant switching to the 24. Yes, TJ puts pressure on JJ and Gordon because we got a lot of depth there. We said it last year. We had a lot of depth, and that depth was tested last year. Remember, Jalen Johnson missed a large portion of the year. Kyler Gordon missed most of the year, and those guys came back at the end of the year and were playing. They weren't 100%. There's no shot they were 100%, but they were playing through those injuries. Again, we lost Terrell Smith early in the season last year with a torn ACL. So bringing all those guys back, just great moves. I'm loving the back and forth with the chat, guys. Keep them coming. I would create a position to keep Al Harris assistant defensive game planner or something. Yeah, if you could, man, if you can make him, I know that may be how we were able to hold on to. I was a little surprised that, what's the Antoine Randall? When Pittsburgh came open, I was like, oh man, he played at Pittsburgh. You know, he was our assistant head coach. So the only way he gets an upgrade or a promotion, that's the word I was looking for, promotion, is to take a head coaching gig or maybe OC. I'm not sure how the hierarchy works. I mean, do any of us know how the hierarchy works? Because this goes into another thing. We got the owners meetings this week. Sure sounds like our GM, Ryan Poles, was not happy whatsoever with the way the NFL decided to divvy up the compensatory picks. If you guys want to talk about it, I think it's absolute bullshit. I don't know how they take an assistant general manager in Ian Cunningham goes to a general manager role with the Atlanta Falcons. Everyone there and everyone here is telling you he's making the calls. In fact, yes, Pauls was irritated. Absolutely. In fact, the reason that they claim that they're not giving us our compensatory picks is because Matt Ryan was named the president of football operations. So they say Ian Cunningham is kind of under him, not really making the rules. But even Matt Ryan said, I'm learning from this guy. This is the guy driving the boat. I'm not sure what more you need, NFL, to show you you're screwing the Bears over. And this opens a loophole for future signings. How many all an NFL team has to do is say, yeah, we're hiring this guy, but he's not our top guy. And now that allows less draft picks to your competition because everyone's a competition in the NFL, regardless. RP looked depressed talking about the comp picks. I mean, who can blame him? He's a guy who brought in Ian Cunningham with him, from Philadelphia. Ryan Poles comes from Kansas City. They were friends coming into it. And he was like, bro, we can help each other out, build up together. And then when you move on, the only right thing to do is for the NFL to give us our comp picks, because why even have the Rooney Rule if you're going to have these types of loopholes in it? I get that the Rooney Rule is not perfect, but it's absolutely needed. And again, we just went through a coaching cycle where a third of the coaches in the NFL were replaced. One was a minority candidate and 0 were African American. Again, how does Brian Flores not have a head coaching gig again? How? On what planet is he not qualified to be a head coach somewhere? I believe Mike Tomlin decided to take a year off. There's no shot that he wasn't getting calls as soon as Pittsburgh allowed him to leave. But it's showing you even a hierarchy of the league. How many head coaches have an African-American offensive coordinator under them that can be, because everyone's going offensive. That's the smartest thing to do, so that you don't have to reset your offense with a new quarterback coming in. You have your offense set. So how in the world are we not promoting this within the NFL? Notorious, absolutely. F the NFL for years after this bullshit. Matt Ryan did us dirty. He should have hired Ian first. I don't know how much of that is on Matt Ryan, to be honest, Pilgrim, because he was just offered the job. I mean, he's not going to turn down the job. But again, he even went on himself and said, no, he's making the calls. That is our general manager. That is what he's doing. He is doing the job of a general manager. And that's a promotion. To go from assistant general manager to a general manager is a promotion. There's no commas, no parentheses, no et ceteras added on to that. That's the letter of the law by the NFL, is when a minority candidate gets a promotion, you get compensatory picks for the work that you've done to continue to push minority coaches and front office members to get opportunities. Because in a league that is 80% African American, probably more than that, I would assume, to not have people who look like them in charge is absolute horseshit. And this is coming from a white guy from Kentucky, so don't get it twisted. It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, that the NFL does, and now maybe they'll make it up. Maybe the owners' meeting next week. Ryan hired Stefanski. Well, Stefanski's the head coach. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you're right, Pilgrim. I don't know. I'd have to look more into it. But the letter of the law, he goes from assistant general manager to general manager. That's it. That's all you need to hear. It's personal. Chicago is the only team in the league that doesn't benefit from holding calls. Also, a lot to do with our lack of sacks. You mean all teams just get up to stop the Bears defense? Very possible, Buka, to look into that. So if a minority assistant head coach gets hired as a head coach, I guess we shouldn't award them because the coach isn't making the decision ever. Absolutely notorious. Just go back and visit the Rooney Rule or just throw it away. It's just, I understand the reason why they have it because it was a good old boys network, and a lot of times it's still becoming that. A lot of times they're just checking a box. I mean, we remember Brian Flores has a lawsuit against the NFL. Maybe that's why he doesn't have a head coaching gig right now. But he has a lawsuit against the NFL because Bill Belichick texted the wrong Brian congratulating him for the New York Giants head coaching gig before he was hired. He meant to text Brian Daboll. He texted Brian Flores. And Brian Flores was like, what are you talking about? So it was, again, a lot of teams use it just to check a box. It's not perfect, notorious. Absolutely, it's not. But it should be when things like this happen where they do not value it, they do not follow through with what they're supposed to do when someone does it the right way. What's going to stop teams from doing this in the future? There's nothing that's going to stop them from doing that as well. And I think it's absolute horseshit. Again, the owners' meetings are this week. Maybe that's the last ditch effort. George McCaskey, I know you're not a fiery guy, but you've got to get you got to go up there and you got to talk to these guys. Ryan should have hired Ian and let him hire the head coach. Very possible, Pilgrim. You are correct. Kevin Stefanski was hired prior to Ian Cunningham, and maybe that's the reason why they looked at it this way. Yeah, that is the reason why he doesn't have it is because of the lawsuit. But I think Brian Flores, he'll get another shot. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're hearing a lot about it, and I don't know if anything will get done. But Ryan Poles was obviously not happy with it when they talked to the media last week, and he also talked about getting rid of DJ Moore was very difficult for him. One of his favorite players in the league. He said his son was mad at him for trading away DJ Moore. But DJ Moore I think I heard that DJ Moore sent a personal message to Ryan Poles' son saying, don't be mad at your dad. It's a business. You have to understand it. It's very difficult. And we see it year in and year out where you fall in love with a player and then salary cap happens and then trades happen. Let's talk some stadium. If the Illinois legislature doesn't pass the Bears bill this week, Indiana could be official for the stadium. Wow. If you're Illinois, if you're Governor Pritzker, you're the guy who loses the Bears. You can kiss your career as a politician goodbye. I think there's no chance Illinois can let the Bears leave, right? I mean, I thought it was just a leverage play. Like, if y'all don't want us, Indiana will give us a sweetheart deal. We'll move right over there. I just I don't see how Illinois could not put this thing through, get the Bears in Arlington Heights, keep them in the state. As everyone was saying, it's very hard to be the pride and joy of Illinois if you're in the state of Indiana. His presidential be gone. Imagine him standing up there and they say, well, you're the guy who lost the Bears. It's over. I'm 100% serious about President of Football Operations. Look into it. If Warren was hired before Poles, would Casey have gotten picks? Yes, he was not hired as head of football operations. It's a little different because, again, Kevin Warren was not hired as head of football operations. He's the team president. So he's in charge of not only football operations, but also, again, the stadium. He's in charge of Well, hell, I don't know what he's doing lately. He's kind of been not. I mean, we're supposed to have shovels in the ground by now, And so I'm not sure exactly what it's kind of like Office Space. What exactly would you say it is that you do around here? He doesn't have a shovel in the ground yet. He tried to go back to the city and talk to them, and hell, he talked about building a stadium in the South lot. I feel like you wasted a lot of time, and honestly, money on the Bears, because the longer you wait, the more your materials cost, the more your, everything's going to cost to build this stadium. We're talking about $1 billion project, or multi-billion-dollar project rather. And it's really coming down to taxes. I mean, they were trying to tax the Chicago Bears 5 times what the LA Rams were paying for their brand new stadium in SoFi in Los Angeles. So to try and get that for a plot of land that didn't even have anything on it yet, absolutely, I don't blame the Bears for saying, well, we can go somewhere else if that's what you guys are going to charge us. I mean, it's America. It's capitalism. When you're going around looking for gas, and you, like yesterday, I'm in Kentucky. I'm not sure what your all's gas prices are. I paid $3.19 for gas yesterday, a gallon. I drive down the road, it's $3.09, and now I'm mad that I paid a dime extra per gallon. So imagine what these guys are angry about, paying billions and billions more for land that doesn't even have a stadium on it. I just it's very difficult to understand. Trying to read the chat and not have so much dead air. Daggone, close to 5 in the city, man. So y'all driving to Indiana too to get gas, right? I mean, there's no way, man. That's crazy. Absolutely, that's a crazy price to get some gasoline, some petrol. And we know why. It's again more politics, what's going on in the world today. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Again, the Bears need their comp picks. We need to get the stadium built in Arlington Heights, the Paradise. So again, Tom Waddle was talking about Paradise, and they used to call it that. And he said he went to trademark it. The Chicago Bears have trademarked the word Paradise. So their plan is wherever they're building it, it's going to be like Wrigley. It's going to be like Wrigley Field, where you have the stadium, you have a sports book, you have sports bars all around it. Surely there will be something pointing to our heritage, our past. We have the most Hall of Famers of any NFL team, so we definitely have to love our past while also building our future. It's so difficult to toe that line. As a Bears fan, Kentucky fan, Cubs fan, I can definitely understand that trying to love your past while also building for your future is very difficult. But I think we'll get everybody gonna be on rollerblades. We're gonna buy some horses around here, bud. These horses, we're gonna start riding horses into work. But it's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world. $4.19 for almost $5 for gas. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, look at Foster's. He says $5 in Chicagoland area, $3.80 if you drive to DuPage. I'm not sure how far that is. You guys know the area a lot more than I do. I'm retired, but I can't imagine having paid $5 a gallon to get to work every day. Absolutely, that would be difficult. Imagine if you drive a truck like me. How much are you paying to fill up your tank? I don't. I'm depending on how far you drive. Maybe weekly. Maybe weekly you're filling up your tank, $5 a gallon. But yeah, that's the crazy stuff going on in this world. Again, I think the Bears will end up in Arlington Heights. It's just a matter of time and leverage and all of those things. We deserve our compensatory picks. If they talk to them at the owners' meeting, we're not going to get it this year because the draft order is set. We will not get our compensatory picks this year. But hopefully the NFL makes it right, because let's be honest, for a corporation, a company that puts end racism and it takes all of us around all their stadiums and trying to push this narrative, how does this not look racist on them? I mean, so put a little pressure on these guys. Maybe next year and the year after we'll get our compensatory picks, because it's absolutely ridiculous. By the letter of the law, he did get a promotion from assistant GM to GM. He is the guy making the decisions. Matt Ryan said it himself. There's no shot that we shouldn't have our compensatory picks. We went through a lot today, though, fellas. We went through the free agency list. We went through, if you want to be upset about the comp picks, be mad. The Steelers got better draft compensation for Justin Fields than the Bears did. That's true. Absolutely true. We got a 6th round pick that could have become a 4th round pick if he had played a certain amount of games. And of course, they weren't going to allow him to hit that threshold. And then when he signs a 1-year, $20 million deal, the compensatory picks formula gives the Steelers a better pick than we got for Justin for the same. Yeah, the Bears hate is real. Absolutely, Pilgrim. I feel like if it wasn't, I mean, this is a historic franchise. It's one of the original 6, right? Is it original 6? It's Bears, Packers, Giants, Cardinals. I'm trying to think. I can't remember exactly, but we're an original franchise, a charter franchise of the NFL, and absolutely, Cornelius. That is what I'll get on today. I'll look up Malachi Lawrence, UCF defensive end, correct? So I will check into him, see if I can catch some highlights. Obviously, I'm going to look at his size, speed, and all that stuff. We'll see. Cardinals are the oldest team. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I'll check out Malachi Lawrence. We talked about edge rushers. We talked about defensive tackles. Only 2 original teams left, Cardinals and Bears. Wow. So Packers aren't. They claim they're 1919. So I didn't realize that. Thank you. Thank you for informing me, Fosters. Yeah, again, I will look into Malachi Lawrence. I will let's do our research as Bears fans. It's this time of year, fellas. I mean, and it's so great. In years past, by Thanksgiving, Packers came to NFL in 1921. Then how do they, because every time I see them, it says established 1919. How do they claim that if they're not around until, I don't know. Anyway, unless there was a different league or something maybe they were in, because the Bears kicked them out of the league. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks everybody for so Bears and Cardinals, the only 2 charter franchises left. Absolutely. Okay. But yeah, it's this time of year, fellas, where we're doing mock drafts. We're finding out the guys, the company's team started tonight. Okay. Got it. We're doing mock drafts. And again, it's so great to not be doing this in Thanksgiving. Around Thanksgiving, I used to be doing mock drafts when we had our bad years. And I was able to enjoy the entire Chicago Bears season and then turn the page into the offseason. Again, doing my work with Danny Shimon right here on the Barroom Radio Network. You know, if you got your notifications turned on to tell you we're going live tomorrow night to talk about offensive tackle position. So we're going to talk about some left tackle possibilities for the future. Maybe some guys that'll get kicked into guard to back up Joe Tooney, etc. That's what we'll be doing tomorrow night. We'll be talking offensive line with Danny Shimon. But getting ready for the draft, man, digging into this defensive line, the defensive tackles. Again, somebody said, yeah, with Banks' foot injury, he might slip to the 2nd round. Pilgrim, I'll be honest, I love Banks. His size is incredible. His arm, I think he's got 35-inch arms, 6'6", 326 or something like that. Huge mountain of a man, but he did miss a lot of the year last year with a foot injury. Comes back, plays a couple of games, goes to the combine, breaks his foot at the combine. I'm not sure. 2nd round may be too high because, again, Danny said this on Draft on Tap. He is such a huge boom or bust prospect because you see it when he's on the field. You see the burst, you see the get off. And again, he's got impeccable size for the position. I believe he had the largest wingspan of any NFL defensive tackle prospect in like 40 years, like since the 70s. So he's got impeccable size and speed and get off. That's been our issue with Javon Dexter this entire time. He still doesn't get off the ball the way you need to get off the ball. You have that fixed with Caleb Banks while he's on the field, but that's the question mark while he's on the field. And you got a guy that large having foot issues. It's very scary, very scary. Maybe they'll take him with one of those second-round picks, but he may fall even further than that. I mean, again, he missed a lot of the year last year at Florida. He came back and played a couple of games at the end of the year, but it was a foot injury then as well. So is this going to be a lingering thing? I don't know. Maybe you look elsewhere. Again, I'm going to look at Malachi Lawrence and check him out. I liked Zion Young's. I believe it was Cornelius that said he didn't like his bend off the edge, so I'll check that. The guy who I love his bend, but he doesn't fit our size profile is Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. I'll be watching to see where he ends up in the NFL draft because he doesn't have the size to fit here, but he could be an outside linebacker somewhere, and he's really good off the edge. His bend is incredible. TJ Parker, I like a lot out of Clemson again. Just giving you guys some guys to look into. When just guessing. It's a mock draft season, so and I run the mock drafts to try and see who's falling around our area, so I can look. I wouldn't take Banks after the foot. Yeah, it's very questionable, Cornelius. Absolutely very questionable. And again, I don't have the graphic here with me. We have it on Draft on Tap, but Zane Durant out of Penn State. I know the Chicago Bears met with him. Defensive tackle, 3 technique, has a lot of production out of Penn State through his career. That's a guy that I would look for. So maybe he's the second round guy. Maybe you draft edge in the first, you get your defensive tackle in the second. Now you got your defensive line shored up. You can grab a safety or a corner with that second round pick, or maybe you trade down and pick up some more picks. Because remember, we don't have a 5th round pick this year. We traded that with DJ Moore to get the 2nd round pick, and we do not have a 6th round pick this year because we traded that for Jonah Jackson. We do have 2 7th round picks right now. So maybe we'll see Ryan Poles move around the draft a little bit. He did it last year, moved around the draft quite a bit. Vincent Anthony Jr. from Duke is another underrated edge. We talked about him on Draft on Tap, Pilgrim. He is, to Danny, he reminds him a lot of Austin Booker, who we already have. So if you want to get a younger version of that, it's very possible. And don't sleep on Austin Booker. I mean, this is a guy who played 10 games last year, had 4.5 sacks. The year before he played sparingly and had a couple of sacks. But he's only gotten better year in and year out. He's going to hit that weight room even more and continue to bulk up. And maybe Austin Booker is a big part of your rotation off the edge this year. If he could stay healthy, that would be a huge help. But I'm pretty much out of time today, fellas. Booker plays a full season against 9-11. And that's what you're looking for, fellas. There's a few and far between. Myles Garrett is a dominant force defensive end. I think Max Crosby is. Again, I wouldn't have traded 2 firsts for him, but I think he is the dominant force defensive end that you look for. I'm trying to think throughout the rest of the league who else is like that. I think Jacksonville has 2 or 3 guys like that. I'm biased, but I love Josh Hines-Allen. He played here at Kentucky. They did draft Walker out of Georgia. They continue to draft defensive ends to try and build up their edge rush as well. Again, Houston just has an amazing defense from front to back, and they only got better. They went out and got Logan Hall for their defensive tackle spot, and they brought in Reed Blankenship to play some safety for them. So they're going to continue to get better. But look at the last 2 Super Bowls. The Philadelphia Eagles did it with everybody, the sum of all parts being greater than one. So you had Jared Carter, you had Jordan Davis, then they had Milton Williams, and they had Josh Sweat, and they had Brandon Graham a year younger, and they had all these pieces that built together a great pass rush. And we saw Seattle do it just last year. They didn't have that one dominant guy, but they brought in DeMarcus Walker, who said historically, I don't see myself winning a Super Bowl in Dallas. So I chose to go to Seattle, and right away he wins a Super Bowl. They traded for a defensive tackle. I'm trying to remember who they traded by. I know they traded for a defensive tackle, and they drafted guys. Remember the guy who could have very possibly gotten the Super Bowl MVP, Hall, was a guy that they drafted out of Auburn, coming off the edge. He had 2 sacks, I think a forced fumble or he forced the interception or whatever they wanted to call it there at the end. There was a pick 6 and stuff. So building through the draft is smart. Booker could be really good if he could stay healthy. I'm glad Poles kept his draft picks and didn't give them away for free. Absolutely, Cornelius. Absolutely. We didn't see the Bears make huge splashes in free agency, and I think that really is pointing us toward what they want to do, which is build through the draft. And what they really are going to have to do, because if you think about it, who are our stars on this team? Caleb Williams is becoming a star. That's going to cost you. Luther Burden becoming a star. That's going to cost you. Colson Leveland becoming a star. That'll probably cost you as well. So how do you offset that? Is by drafting and developing on the defensive side of the football to really become a complete team. And I think that's the route that they're going. But I'm running out of time again. I love the back and forth with the chat today. I'll get with the fellas and see when we're going to do another show. I know we have free agency wrapping up, and then we'll have the draft season coming around. We'll do some mock drafts and stuff here on the Barfly Tailgate show, and everybody will come through and talk about that. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your enemies. I don't care. We welcome them all. This year on the Barfly Tailgate show, especially at the end of the year, we had some Rams fans that hopped in. We had some Packers fans, of course. We had Vikings. Don Burr, I haven't seen him. I don't know if he's MIA with his team, kind of falling off this last year. But we'll see if he gets excited for the offseason, if he'll come back. But like, comment, subscribe to the Barroom Radio Network. Hit the notification bell because we go live dang near every day. Whether it's, I know tomorrow, probably during the day, I'm assuming Aldo and Greg Gabriel will go live for a little something. They'll inform you on some draft prospects as well. Myself and Danny will be coming on tomorrow night to talk about some offensive tackle draft prospects and maybe some other prospects, depending on where the chat wants to lead us. And then you got Hockey Talk with Vinny Parisi and his showmates over there, Bar Down Hockey Talk. I'm not sure if we're doing baseball again this year. I know Joe Mandel is very busy with Mike North, etc. But again, you hit the notification bell to tell you when we go live. You can tune in. I appreciate everybody coming in and chatting with me today. We had a great conversation talking about prospects. If you didn't hear it live, go back and listen. We talked about some defensive ends, some defensive tackle prospects that we like. Cornelius trying to inform me of Malachi Lawrence. I got to keep that ingrained in here because I am going to look him up, Cornelius. I'm gonna and when you see me come back, I will have an opinion on Malachi Lawrence. I'm excited to look at these prospects for sure. Definitely excited. Talked about some secondary pieces, whether it's Dylan Thieneman or the kid out of Toledo. I can never remember his name. I know it's a 3-part name. I believe it's McNeil something. So he's been popping up on mock drafts as well. I don't think Caleb Downs will be within striking distance of us from Ohio State, but we'll see how it all plays out, man. But it's the off season, but there's no time off. It is the off season, but there's no time off. But until next time, I'll just leave everybody with a bear down and go Cubs.